so I'm excited. We're like going into our next topic, which is really going to be a great conversation with Thomas and Marcy. Hey, Marcy, how are you? Are you off mute? Are you?
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hey, I'm so good. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, how are you, Thomas?
I'm good. Can you see me?
We cannot
No.
see you yet. You are currently a dark screen.
Okay. Technology. It says I'm sharing my webcam.
That's okay. You go to the webcam section of the little grid, and in the webcam, you can pick which webcam. Hopefully that will help you.
Yes. Let's see. Well, I wanted to use this one, but let's see if this one works.
There he is.
There I am. That's not my preferred webcam, so let me just see if the other one will work. You know, we got it. Well, that's an awful freeze frame.
Is it frozen?
It is frozen. He
It
looks like he's got an upside down smile.
Well, we'll just
There
run
he
with this
is.
one then. Good afternoon.
All right, we got, okay, you're on the camera. Good. You're good. You're good. It's good. It works. You look good,
Yay.
right?
Thanks. It's Friday. It's Fabulous Friday.
Absolutely. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and kick this off. We've got Thomas Ryan Lawrence, and he's joined by Marcy today, and we're going to talk about, actually, he's going to chat with us about how to thrive in the workplace. I want to give a little bit of an intro to Thomas before we get going. Thomas, he actually founded 3 very impactful for-profit ventures, each sharing a common commitment to creating lasting and positive influences for the communities that they serve. One was ARC Leadership. It was a consulting firm dedicated to enhancing the value of organizations. Openly, a web-based diversity and inclusion platform for businesses, and The Gayborhood, a digital media company connecting the LGBTQ community with safe spaces nationwide. And he and Marcy, I think, are both involved in that endeavor. And he now serves as the executive director of Q Plus Equality Foundation. That's Q Plus Equality Foundation. It's a nonprofit. He founded in 2022. Their mission is to empower Q Plus talent by cultivating workspaces through inclusivity and a place where every identity is celebrated. So he cultivates those spaces and then helps get people in them. The foundation has established partnerships with over 850 colleges and universities, which is no small number, as well as over 100 workplaces. And committed to giving back. Ryan has dedicated many years to many different philanthropic engagements here in Atlanta and elsewhere. And he is married with his husband, Chris, in 2012, and they take pride in raising their son, Noah. He's a super cutie born in 2014. And along with their Black Lab Bowie, they reside in Grant Park. So welcome, Thomas.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate it. And yeah, just, you know, thriving in the workplace is, I think, something that everybody is interested in. Let's face it, if we didn't have to work, I don't think any of us would be. If we were independently wealthy, we'd all be doing something else. But given the fact that, you know, most people are not.
Well, even if you were wealthy, Thomas, you might still work, right? You might want to really create cool things.
I would do something, yes, but most people out there that are working for an organization, you know, are doing it because people have bills to pay, right? And I think one of the really interesting things that came out of COVID is this realization that, you know, one, life is short, it's unpredictable, and we all deserve to be happy in the workplace. It's super important. So you know, you gave a great background on me. I just want to share that I kind of fell into the work that I do. Like I fell into working in the LGBTQ plus community. I fell into HR. I fell into real estate. And I'm so grateful that I did. I went to school and got my degree in marketing, graduated 20-ish years ago. And my first job offer out of college was with a mid-sized marketing firm here in Atlanta that gave me a contingency, if you will. They just wanted some assurances that I could butch it up in front of the more conservative clients. And, you know, one, that totally broke me because back then, my more feminine side was something that I was hyper aware of. So to hear that like that was a contingency being placed on me to just be able to come to work was very difficult. What made it even more difficult was the fact that I had butched it up for the interview. So like I had hit my peak on the butchometer. And I was like, this is not going to work. So I obviously did not take that job. I ended up taking a sales job with the Gay Community Yellow Pages, which, as you shared, you know, subsequently led to Marcy and I launching Gayborhood, and then ultimately the foundation. So, you know, now I get to run a nonprofit that helps companies foster Q+ equality in the workplace and do it quickly. Most of the companies that we work with are what we would consider small to medium-sized businesses. So anywhere from, you know, 25 employees to 2,500 employees.
Froze, Thomas.
I froze? How about now?
Yeah.
Am I good?
Marcy's talking. Marcy, I think you're talking to yourself. Like we can't
Yeah,
hear you.
she was saying I froze, but I think I'm good.
You are.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, what does it mean to thrive in the workplace?
Yeah. Hey, Thomas, real quick, because you touched really quickly on that. So when you went to that interview, you weren't being your authentic self. You
No,
hid, right?
no, I was trying to get a job. So I was code switching.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to butch it up a little bit. I was absolutely not my authentic self. And I think that's an excellent question, Helmut, because when I was entering the workforce, everything was very binary, right? You were gay or straight, you were masculine or feminine. And what we see today is this spectrum of sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression. You know, my 10-year-old son loves to paint his fingernails, absolutely loves it. And I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with his sexual orientation or gender identity. He is probably going to be one of the straightest straight boys out there. You know, they always say a parent knows. But, you know, it's just funny to see all these options that exist in the world today and how we can show up and be our authentic selves in different ways. And the challenges that come along with that, considering that we are in such a multi-generational workforce. You know, we have 5 different generations working together. And oftentimes people that are older and maybe had a more conservative upbringing really have a difficult time wrapping their head around the idea of non-conforming genders and various identities. So, you know, I was fortunate enough to catch a few minutes of the previous session. And one of the things that was, you know, being talked about was setting your core values when you start to date someone. And it really is no different when you're starting a relationship with an employer. If you want to be able to thrive in the workplace, it means you need to be able to come to work with a sense of purpose. And ideally, perhaps not every day, but most days, leave with a sense of joy, right? You're not going to thrive in the workplace if you're one of those people that wake up and say, oh shit, I've got to go to work today. Or, oh God, I don't want to deal with Margaret. Or I've got that meeting that I can't stand. You know, we have to start with finding an organization that aligns with our personal values. And that's where Lamont was talking about in the previous session. Sharing this or achieving this may sound straightforward, but it really does require effort and a supportive environment. So thriving becomes more accessible when, as an employee, you go in and you feel safe. You don't feel the need to censor your words. You're not stressed out about your appearance. You're not worried about unintentionally revealing some personal aspect of your lives that you maybe don't want to reveal. I mean, fear and stress undermine productivity and fulfillment. You cannot be a productive, fulfilled employee if you are constantly fearful and stressed out. So
Do you
finding
feel
that joyfulness.
do you feel finding that kind of environment though, um, in some, I don't know if it's all industries, or locations, is it a privilege to have? Meaning like, do all fields or all areas, are they all at the same level, right? Like in terms of acceptance, in the terms of like, I think about the finance industry versus, right, versus the theater arts versus healthcare versus
Yeah.
tech, right? And maybe, or you're just in a local podunk town and you only have so many options that are available to you.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget that one of those options is always to pick up and move to a better location,
That's
right?
true.
Just because we're in a podunk town doesn't mean we need to stay in a podunk town if it's not aligning with the goals that we have for ourselves in living a fabulous life.
That's
But
true.
to answer your question, I feel like across most professional industries, it's pretty level playing field. Of course, as you get into more blue collar work, factory manufacturing, things like that, we see a dip because it's an underrepresented industry as it relates to Q plus people. Um, but even in your professional industries, over half of Q plus workers are still in some way, shape, or form closeted in the workplace. And I believe, and we, the team at the foundation, strongly believe that the way to change this is to actually flip the script and have the organizations coming out as being supportive all year long, rather than putting that duty on the employee. So it's one of the things that we did with our Q plus equality initiative is we work to support companies in talent recruiting, people leadership, equal commitment, and workplace empowerment. Those are our 4 pillars. And we say, look, first of all, don't just do something during Pride Month. A lot of the organizations that we work with have the right intent, but they lack the human and financial resources to be able, like, they don't have the money to go and be in a Pride parade. They don't have the extra funds to go have a booth at 4 or 5 different regional Pride events throughout the year. So that's where we're able to help them with the Proudly Support Q Plus Equality badge. Is that's like a beacon, right? It's like your flashing red light of this is a safe place. This is a place where I can come and I can be myself, and I don't have to come out. I can mention my husband just like a straight person would mention their wife. That's really what we're going for. The second part of your question, though, is one that may upset some people. Or the second part of my answer to your question is I believe very strongly that as Q plus people, we have to look at what we're doing to help our own cause, right? So going back to that multi-generational workforce and understanding that just because someone makes a mistake or someone doesn't know, maybe they're not as familiar with pronouns, if you can tell they're trying and you can tell they're making an effort, we need to be respectful of that. And we need to help them along the way rather than, frankly, trying to, for lack of a better phrase, cancel them. Like the whole cancel culture when someone makes a misstep is, frustrating to me. And I know a lot of others that I work with feel the same way. So, like, there's one example that comes to mind that I was reading an article on, it wasn't even an article, it was a post on LinkedIn. And this individual said that their pronouns were she, they. I'm down for it. I am going to use those pronouns when I refer to you. But then they went a step further and said that their expectation was that if you were speaking to her, you need to mentally keep track of how often you use she versus they. And to truly be an ally, you need to make sure that you're splitting it 50-50. I think that's an unreasonable ask.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're talking, and look, I'm a millennial. if you're talking to someone in the workforce that's mid 60s, early 70s, baby, let them wrap their head around the pronouns and let them do what they can do and meet them there and help out. So that's part of thriving in the workplace too, is we have to recognize that we are coming at this from both directions as a Q plus individual, and then we have our allies in the workplace. The goal is to build a bridge, right? Connecting those two sides together. And one of the things that we always say at the foundation is we never come in, we don't consider ourselves enforcers, right? We don't come in and say, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. Rather, we're ambassadors. We are saying, where are you in your journey and how can we help you get to the next step that you are trying to achieve?
So that makes sense. So basically, first step is try to find a place, right? Try to find a place that is clearly accepting, right?
Yeah.
Or embracing or encouraging.
But don't stop at the DEI page. Like, just because a company has an inclusivity initiative on a website, 9 times out of 10 that was written by someone in marketing or communications, feel free during an interview process to ask to speak to some other employees. You have the right as the person interviewing to ask to talk to other people outside of the interviewer. You really want to get a true sense of that organization's culture before you join.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's say I do that. Let's pretend I go through that process, right? Because I will say that I have done that. I was thinking about my lived experience. A couple of them, Allscripts or IBM Watson Health, or even a small tech startup I was in. And all of them, I kind of had that like, hey, are we good with this, right? Are we good with who I am? Can I show up? And it was told, yes, you can, right? And then you get in and you realize, wow, this is different. My lived experience is very different, right? Now, I don't know if that's because I was in executive circles and you're the only gay person in the room, but for some, the perception of, yes, we're there, we're good, right? Maybe because we want you and because we'd love to attract you. And now you're inside and maybe it's not so friendly. Maybe it's not so easy. What are some thoughts around how to thrive in that kind of workspace?
Yeah, so, that's an interesting question because there is often, again, I'm going to go back to Lamont. And, when we start dating someone, we often present our best version of ourselves early in the process. I always call it, we try to hide the crazy, right? For at least the first month or so. And it's no different with companies. They're trying to hide the pieces of them that are less attractive when looking for quality talent. So there are really two different approaches here. One is, as the person who isn't getting the culture that they thought they were getting into, you can work to try and create that. You can be a part of the solution, right? So, and I would need some more specific details around it, but essentially that's a way you go to your leadership, you can go to HR, you can go to your coworkers on your team and just say, hey, this was my impression when I was joining. It really hasn't been my experience. Can we work together on that? Is there something that I can do to bring something to the table to make people more comfortable? One of the things that I have learned through the work that we do at the foundation is a lot of times the other side is just as fearful, if not more so than we are. And what I mean by that is if they aren't that used to using pronouns, if they aren't accustomed to or don't, if they're worried that a question is going to make them sound homophobic or transphobic, they shut down. And it gives the perception that they are not welcoming, when in actuality, they're just afraid to make a mistake. So sometimes when we as a Q plus person can start that conversation and start to push that initiative forward, people lighten up a little bit. Just something as simple as saying, look, nothing you say is going to offend me. I want you to be comfortable around me. I'm a cool person. I understand this might be new. What can I answer for you? That's one approach. The second approach, and I always prefer approach number one, because again, I think that we need to be involved in the process of creating welcoming workplaces where we can thrive. However, if that does not work, and sometimes it's, the culture was this when you joined, maybe you got a new people leader that wasn't as aligned with the culture when they joined, and there's nothing you can do about it because they are your people leader now, then it's time to move on. One of the things I believe very strongly in is you should never, ever, ever stay in a toxic workplace. If it is not aligning and you are not feeling good when you leave, no matter what you think you're going to learn by staying there for another 6 months, or no matter how much you don't want a gap in your resume, or you don't want to appear like a job hopper, staying in a toxic environment is going to do way more harm long term than anything else. So get out, pack your bags and move on.
But get the job first.
Yes, of course. I always get the job first.
Yeah,
It's
I
always
definitely
easier to
have
leave.
to
It's always easier to find a job when you have one.
I have to say, Thomas, I definitely have had that lived experience, right? Where you
Yeah.
get in and you realize that they thought that they are LGBTQ friendly, and maybe they were at even lesser levels in the organization where kind of it didn't affect management the same way.
Yeah.
But it has been my experience that you get in those situations and you're in deep, really. When you realize it, you're like, oh, okay. And now
Well, and this
you're
is
like,
where,
you might be the first living example, right? I've
yeah.
had that experience a couple times where you're the first gay person they've really actually worked with closely in a meaningful
Mhm.
way. And now you're in a
But and
teaching
this is
role.
where doing that research is important too, because we also need to be aware of the culture that we are walking into. For example, I know that, JP Morgan Chase at the highest level of their investment banking tiers, I know that as part of their culture, they are still very old school Wall Street, right? So suits, ties every day. And it would not be acceptable for me to walk in, or you or anyone else that presents as male, to walk in with their nails painted. No more than it would be acceptable for us to walk in wearing a pair of jeans. So we want to make sure that if we are looking or think that there may be some sort of microaggression or some sort of discrimination, for lack of a better phrase, going on, we want to make sure that it really is attached to that before we make it into an issue, rather than just making an assumption.
That's fair. That's fair. Sometimes I think so. If I think a little bit back to like back in the day, I'm always reminded by like, you couldn't even let people know you were gay because you were fired, right? And we've
Yeah,
slowly moved forward. We know our own unemployment rates are still higher
yeah,
than straight individuals. We know that our pay is less.
yeah,
Um, but some of those times, I guess I felt like, and maybe it's just, and I'm hopeful that people don't have to feel this way. There's a part where you're like, oh my gosh, I am the first person that's really actually done this in this space, and I'm the teacher. I'm just the
yeah.
teacher. That's it. Right now, I want to get out, right? But maybe you can't yet, right? You just have to be okay with, well, how do I cope with being the teacher? How do I try to create a safe space within this place, right? Maybe your few allies, maybe the few other individuals that you can really be yourself with. Um,
Hmm.
and then the anti-gay sentiment may be subtle, right? You're not asked to that meal. You're
Yeah,
not in the joke circle. You're not, right. So there are ways that you are still excluded. And I found, so just for the listeners, right, I found it's helpful to then have other avenues, right, in your personal life where you can talk about it, or professionally. And then also just the realization that you're like, okay, well, you're not the first. You're not the
yeah,
first, right? There are many other
yeah.
people who've done this before.
Absolutely. And I think one, you're suggesting to talk about it is important. A lot of times, when we bottle things up, that's when they fester. I am a
Mm.
huge believer that everybody should be in therapy. The analogy that I always use is I wouldn't do my own heart surgery because I am not a cardiologist. I would not do my own taxes because I'm not a CPA. Why in the world would I, as an untrained mental health person, try to work through these feelings and lived experiences that we have that we know are going to cause a reaction. Where I didn't study mental health. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of talking to people, but also understanding, find your tribe. It's not going to be everybody. I have worked with a lot of people that I personally would never have spent a moment outside of the office with them if I had a choice. And I respected what they brought to the organization and the value that they brought. So we got along fine at work. But let's remember, you are at work. Not everyone has to be best friends, but we have to be respectful of each other. And that's a big key.
Yeah, that's true. And we are, at the end of the day, we are still living, walking advertisement boards, right? So like that the reality is you may be someone's first truly close LGBTQ person, right? And their actual lived experience, even though the company maybe wherever it is, to your point, you may get a new hiring manager or whatever.
Yeah.
So you kind of are representing in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I know some people would run away from that experience because they don't want to be the first. One of the things that we focus very strongly on at the foundation is letting people know that we're not here to change your beliefs. If I see a coworker coming at me that is, just imagine your good old boy redneck with the MAGA hat on, I'm not running away, baby. I'm running straight towards you because I want you to know I'm not trying to change your beliefs. I'm just asking that you think about it from a different point of view. Like, believe what you want to believe. You want to go home and believe there are only two genders? Fine, that's your right. And in the workplace, if I tell you my pronouns are they, them, I want you to have thought about this situation from the place that we are both in and say, yes, I have enough respect for my coworker that I will use those pronouns when referring to them. I'm not trying to change your beliefs. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, so funny, right? Because some beliefs are so limiting though that I'm like, my existence is incongruent with your beliefs, and you have to learn what are you going to do with that, right?
Because I can't cease to exist. I mean, I'm not going to. So,
right.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts you would share with our listeners around the workplace?
I would say, work towards achievable milestones. Don't worry about what's behind you. Don't worry about those missed opportunities. But really looking at what's ahead. And don't be afraid. You can only create purpose and live a joyful life when the fear is out of the way. So, I like to say that you shouldn't have to come out at work. That would be ideal. Just be yourself and, find the right organization that aligns with you.
Yeah. Is there any thoughts around leaving a workplace? Is there a way to leave? Do you know?
Always. Always a way to leave. Yeah.
As for considerations as LGBTQ people, particularly if you feel like it wasn't a great environment. Obviously, if there are egregious things done, there's a whole way that's something that can be litigated.
Yes. I mean, since 2020, sexual orientation and gender identity are included in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. So if you feel like there's been open discrimination, open harassment based on one of those characteristics, you can go to the EEOC. But I believe in honesty. I also believe in diplomacy, right? So we can accomplish things working together in a diplomatic way, understanding that we have to bend just as we're asking other people to bend. But if you get to that point where you're leaving and it really is a culture issue, make sure they know that when you're leaving. If you're not offered an exit interview, in your resignation letter, make it clear, I thought I was joining an organization that was accepting and welcoming of all people. My personal experiences, which I talked to my manager about, nothing changed, have shown me that I cannot be my true self, authentic self, whole self in this workplace. So I'm leaving. And if you don't address this problem moving forward, you're going to have a really hard time having staff in the future. Like, be honest, say what you mean, don't say it mean.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason to be nasty about it. We don't need to be Karens and Gregs.
Yeah,
right?
I would say definitely want to do that. I think you'd want to make sure that if you did that, you want to make sure you actually had the conversations, right, with
Yeah,
HR, reflect that before sending them a letter.
yes,
Can't use your letter as your weapon and not have done the hard work of actually addressing leadership
right.
before.
Yes. I mean, again, I live in a world of people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, just because someone said something that offended you doesn't mean that that was their intention and doesn't mean that they even know that they offended you. So you
truth,
can't expect someone's behavior to change if you don't bring to their attention that the behavior was unacceptable to start with.
truth. So let's do, well, I did want to share with you all an email address. What is it that you're offering individuals who follow up and want additional information? I got hello@qplusequality.org.
Yes, if you email hello at qplusequality.org, we will send you out some more information on our Q Plus Equality initiative. And this will go through the pillars that we work on, how you as an individual can get more involved. If you would like to get your workplace involved, there's some information in there. But it's all about, basically you can be the person that leads the charge and sets the tone for this welcoming workplace in your current environment. And we're here to help with all of that.
Right, that's hello@Q plus, there's no dash or hyphen, it's just Q plus equality. And the Q, you spell out the plus,
Yes.
equality.org. Let me ask you, Ryan, Thomas Ryan, the website itself, for people who are looking for work, is there a place there to go and actually find opportunities?
Yeah, so one of the things we do with all the companies that we partner with is we pull all of their open opportunities together and put them on our job board. So when you go to qplusequality.org, click on the jobs tab, it's going to take you to our career page. Currently, we have 46,000 open positions across the country.
Okay, awesome. So that's a great way to actually, kind of when we're talking about part A, the actual searching process, that's
Yep,
going to make your searching process much simpler. And is that
absolutely.
something that updates like every day, or how does that work?
It actually refreshes 3 times a day.
Okay. So it's
Yep,
kind of like, I mean, is it equivalent to going into LinkedIn or to any of the other job
it
places, but it's
is.
particularly people who have gone. And what is it that they have gone through that you all have done maybe with that place to ensure that they're good for me
Yeah.
to consider?
Excellent question. So that's where we go back to the 4 pillars that we work with. So we obviously have the attracting talent. Um, all of our organizations get specific content from us designed for people leaders, specifically non-HR people leaders, and things like how to interview, how to confidently interview Q plus talent, how to start difficult conversations with teams. We do various webinars with them, both from the talent recruiting and the people leadership side. And then depending on the size of the organization, we typically do this one, the smaller ones, but we do a policy review with them. Again, going back to they don't know what they don't know. They don't always know what makes a good anti-harassment and non-discrimination policy. Why should we have a gender neutral dress code? So we offer support in a lot of those areas as well.
Okay, so you all are already doing some of the work with that organization to make sure they meet some certain standards with which
Yes.
before they can post their jobs with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I think as you mentioned, if you are at a workplace that isn't maybe doing so great, um, or if you're running one, you could reach out to your organization and get that additional information, right?
Absolutely. Or if you're working with an organization that is doing a great job and you want to have a way to say that, right? You want a badge, you want your jobs on our job board because you're actively interested in attracting and retaining more Q plus talent. A lot of people don't realize that, right now, what is it, 2 out of 5, 1 out of 5 Gen Zers consider themselves non-straight or non-binary. So we're inching up on more and more of the workforce identifying as Q+ or an ally. That's something that a lot of people forget sometimes, is that we work a lot with allies as well. Because someone like
Right.
my mother wants to work somewhere that supports her values too. So
Truth.
absolutely, your company could already be doing a great job and still work with us.
Right? You could be okay, but we're going to make you better.
That's right. And if you're not doing a great job, we're going to help you get there, as long as your intent is pure.
We're going to
That's the
remove.
thing. I can't help you if you don't have a genuine interest in doing better.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Thomas Ryan Lawrence. I like saying all three of your names, Thomas Ryan Lawrence.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I know that the work you do, it's passionate work, but it's also, I mean, we spend so much of our lives in the workplace. So
We do.
yeah. So
So
really,
we may as well find one where we can thrive.
right. So appreciate you and appreciate helping other people to find a place where they might be more happy. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Cheers.
All right.
I
Bye.
ciao. I'm gonna actually we're gonna do a real quick little shout out, and then Jacoby, if you're on, I think you are, we'll get you going in a minute, a little early, but I will do a quick commercial as we transition here to one of our sponsors that has been so great about sharing and caring. This is in the nonprofit space. It's so important to be able to share others who are helping and doing the work. So the Athens Pride and Queer Collective is a great organization, athenspride.org. You can check them out. They actually helped promote and share our masterclass with their people. And so I want to encourage you to reach out to them, learn about them, support them. $1 or $2 goes a very long way in just helping them make and share LGBTQ pride in another area of the state. So thanks so much to Athens Pride Queer Collective for their help in our mission and helping their community as well. All right, let's see. I think I have, there we go. All right. So I think, did I share that? There we go. There's the little information on them. So you guys can see the QR code. You can scan that. And we're going to get going a little bit early on our next topic because we have time to. Hello,